Exactly. Welcome to the Intentions podcast. Um,
What was that little song you had?
Welcome to the Intentions podcast. I don't know what you said. The rest of it. Um,
Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very special guest, the one and only. Actually, I'm going to wait before I say his name. If you know his voice, you already know who this man is, but he, let's make it like, guess who? He is a worship dude at a local church. He is, I can't say that.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
I was going to say one of the only people of color in Wilmore, but then that would give you away.
So.
Well, he is a wonderful husband, a sniffly, a little bit sick father to Judah. And more importantly, he's a son of the right hand of God. That's what Benjamin means, son of my right hand.
Imagine giving my name away.
Is it a secret?
Yes.
It's your identity.
If you hear baby noises, it's because Judah is in the room chilling,
Hey, baby.
at least right now.
For real this time. Hey, guys. Welcome to the Intentions Podcast. And this is a podcast by normal people for normal people. There's no superheroes here besides Jesus. And our goal is to unpack the intentions of God in the midst of the tensions of being a disciple. And so we do that by having conversations around our three core values. So abiding, walking with God, knowing Him, the scripture, God's word, that's our compass, that's our guide in this world. And third, the concept of God's family, or more historically known as the church. So essentially what we mean by that is, how does God's family operate, whether locally, globally, now, throughout history? And so how do we do that? How do we have conversations around family and friendship and institutions and today singleness and dating and emotions and you name it? How does the Bible address some of these issues? And so that's what we're about. And so we pray that this podcast blesses you. My husband Benjamin and I just celebrated our 4th year of being married, so we certainly don't have it all figured out, but we sat down and unpacked some communication things and what we've learned in the last 4 years, actually more than that, dating. So we hope you enjoy this episode, and it starts out with what we had for dinner.
It was majestic. It was either yesterday or the day before. We had this idea of doing a seafood boil, and
Do you think everybody knows what a seafood boil is?
I hope so.
Break it down.
Seafood boil. So how I like my seafood boil, I like to, if I'm not, there's seafood in it, but there's also other things you put in it. Like you can put hard-boiled eggs, you can put potatoes, you can put some andouille sausage, some corn. So we put those things in there, and then we kind of went above and beyond. We put some scallops and some mussels, shrimp. You always have that shrimp. We put some crawfish, and then we saw some lobster tail on sale for like $4. Now I know what you're thinking, lobster tail for $4? Y'all are gonna get food poisoning?
No. It was 3 for $6, so it wound up being like $1.50 per lobster tail.
Yeah, it was dangerous. And then there's this king crab legs on sale too, so we grabbed those, and we had a nice seafood boil. It was
With a crap ton of butter.
Yeah, it was so good. Rip cholesterol, but we don't eat like that all the time.
But we do eat well. We love food.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Back.
No, you're a foodie.
Big back foodie.
That's what we should call this episode. Big back foodie.
Yeah.
So, how do we meet, Mr. Black?
Yes. So we both attended Asbury University, and I was a sophomore. Mads was a freshman.
Love at first sight.
And
Just kidding.
um, so we worked at this magical place at Asbury called the Bistro, and the Bistro is like Asbury's version of Panera, you know. And I had worked there for a year or so. Mads was new, and I was supposed to like train her and things like that. So I think she was on the cashier at first, and I had done just about everything.
So, for all the people who have a sense of humor like me, I had the only job where you get paid to check people out. Wink, wink,
Yeah.
cashiers. Hee hee.
So that's how we met. Now I think we both thought the other person was kind of weird.
True.
So it really, we weren't like, it wasn't a love at first sight kind of thing. It was, we just kind of, at first we were like, okay, like I thought Maz was annoying, honestly, so I wasn't really interested. And then I think over time we actually became friends, over the few months and things like that. Uh, and then we just came very close, you know, sharing life with one another for a good 3 years or so. And we actually didn't start dating until our senior year, spring semester, so our final semester. Maz graduated a year early, so we were seniors at the same time. But yeah, we went from people who weren't really that crazy about one another to now we're married with a little kid making noises in the background. So
So, I imagine there are some people out there. It was really crazy the way that Jesus undid a lot of our presuppositions about what the ideal spouse or whatever would look like in crazy ways for both of us that we'd probably tell you about more in person. But I imagine a lot of people are out there trying to discern, like, how do I know that she's the one? How do I know that he's the one? Would you have any advice? You work with college students as well, and kind of discerning that dating stage. Because for us, when we started dating, it was pretty much like you knew, and I was pretty sure that, okay, I'm probably about to marry this man.
hmm. I mean, I don't know if there's some right answer. I mean, I would give my own personal opinion, I think, but um, I mean, it's probably a generic response, but I think trusting the Lord in it, you know, I think it's weird because like some people I know, they find like their spouse when they're not really looking for them, you know, or they're looking in all these other
Mhm.
places or things like that. And I think for speaking for me personally, you know, um, my end of the story, um, I, I was in some ways looking for a wife. You know, I feel like God was like speaking to me like, um, from my freshman year going into my sophomore year. He was like, "You're gonna meet your wife this year, or you're gonna meet your wife at Asbury."
So every girl, like, Lord, is this the one?
Not necessarily like that. Um, I met Mads 2 weeks into my sophomore year, you know, so I did meet my wife, but you know, there was other people that I was interested in at Asbury that I was talking to, things like that over the years, and um, you know, uh, I was like, well, this could be it, you know, but I wasn't like throwing all
Mm.
my uh, what,
Eggs in one
yeah,
basket.
eggs in one basket, as they say. Um, but I think when it came to Mads, like there was just that friendship. I remember the
Mm.
summer before our um senior year, I was praying, and you know, me and Mads had gotten very close at this point, and I was like, honestly, like with the faith that she has, like she's so on fire for the Lord, things like that. That's what I'd love in a woman one day, like to have in a wife
Mhm.
one day. That'd be incredible, you know. So I think um, like I was looking for, as a Christian man, I was looking for a wife that, you know, back in the day, I was like evenly yoked, you know, Like I wanted to be evenly yoked with someone. I wanted to be I wanted to be, I didn't want to have to pull someone along with me
You
spiritually.
wanted somebody you could run with.
Right.
Yeah.
And um either I was ahead of people or they were a little ahead of me. And I think with Mads, it was like, oh, she's right there. Like we're on the same wavelength. And I was like, I think that's great
Yeah.
to have one day. Now I didn't really see that with her at the moment, but I was like, I admired that about her because I was like, this is great. So I think, like, long story short, I think being open to what the Lord has,
Hmm.
and like trusting his timing, before we dated, I kind of came to a conclusion of like, oh, well, maybe I did meet her at Asbury, like this wife that God said, but it could be years. I was kind of content of like, oh yeah, I'm fine not being married till 30 or whatever. Um, but little did I know, uh, things kind of came, and it also none of it looked the way I thought it should be, or the way I thought it would be. Like, um, God had his own plan. And when we're submitted to God, like when we say that he is Lord of our life, when we give our life to God, like he has a plan for us. He's not going to lead us astray. So there's that trust in him. And little did I know, like, Maz was the lady that I needed. She was the wife that I needed and that I desired. And like, has been able to walk with me through thick and thin, the good, the bad, the ugly, things like that. And yeah, I couldn't be more blessed.
That's so sweet, baby. Yeah. So I'm hearing a couple things from you. Like, first and foremost, there's a place of contentment. And what I hear you saying is essentially there's certain things that we have to get them from the Lord. And if you're trying to get that from a spouse or a significant other, it's always going to come up empty, right?
Right.
And so I think for you and me, it was different. Like, I was planning on moving overseas immediately post grad. So I wasn't looking. So I was content in a different way. I wasn't actively looking for a spouse in the same way that you were at Asbury. I thought that I would be single, happily single the rest of my life. But there was that deep place of contentment. And I thought it was interesting that we both had the other person as almost like a litmus test for who a potential spouse could be. And what I mean by that is I was just thinking through, like, man, what do I really want in a spouse, right? Like, such a small percentage of life is like having sex or do whatever people think about when they think marriage. But real life with somebody is a partnership. And I was wanting somebody who it would be happier to go to the grocery store with them and have a good time than not. And you were that person that I thought of, like, oh man, maybe I'd want to be with somebody like Ben, who's like a really good friend. And I think friendship has characterized our marriage in, yeah, in the beginning and also throughout. And that's my hope, is that our friendship just continues to grow as we age and get all wrinkly and stuff. But I think also I'm still uncovering all of the ways that you and I are different and ways that that is beneficial. And of course, like, sometimes when somebody's different than us, it rubs us the wrong way. But one thing I've really appreciated about you, Ben, is our orientation to time being different. I'm so future looking, thinking about, okay, where will we be in 5 years and 10 years, whatever. And you're so beautifully present in the moment. Um, and that actually makes me think of this episode of a show that we watched last night where one girl dating is trying to become a doctor and so focused on getting to the future and saving lives. And the man that she's dating is essentially he's making the point, he's an actor and he's making this argument that life is worth living, not just saving. And so I think that tension we see in our marriage too, in a way that is really beautiful. And there's lots of other ways that we, I think, are complementary towards each other. But yeah, I think that's great. Did you have thoughts about that, love?
Yeah, it's great. Love that. Oh. If I was that anything else, I guess to what I was saying, and just and I appreciate you kind of fleshing it out with me. Um, like
That's my job. We one flesh. Get it?
eh, is I know I said God's timing, but also I think like it takes um surrendering. I think I ran into, I had a lot of friends in high school, and not high school, in college, that, a lot of these great guys, great men of God, things like that, really desiring like a wife, really
Hmm.
looking for that. And I think for each and every single one of us, it kind of came to a point of like, in a sense, we were kind of idolizing it.
Yeah.
We were idolizing being married one day, and having the it girl.
And I think it's worth noting that the best person who ever lived a full life, and that's Jesus, of course, and he did it all as a single person,
Right.
and he wasn't lacking in anything, and that's not because he's God, but marriage doesn't complete somebody, Jesus does. And so I really just appreciate all of the single friends that we have that aren't idolizing a marriage but are living a full life now, not just waiting for some spouse. But
Right.
yeah.
And I think that's a place where I had to come from, and I think it opened up the door of like, okay, well, here's your wife now, and you know, like
Hmm.
that was me. It could have been another person, where it's like 10 years later, but I think for me in that time, I kind of had to come to a place with the Lord of like, okay, yeah, Lord, I've been really desiring this. I've been really wanting this. And I've been putting it before you,
Hmm.
before my relationship with you, and having a place where I could come and surrender like, God, here's this. And if it happens, great. And if it doesn't happen, that's great too. Like, I'm going to continue to
Yeah.
serve you and love you and turn to you, and being content in a space of like, I don't have to be married to be completely fulfilled,
Hmm.
because God fulfills me. And then out of that, if the Lord sees fit, and if he allows room for another person to do life with me in marriage, great. And I think that was one of the last things I really had to surrender to the Lord. Um Personally, this is my story. In order for, I think, to actually be ready for, marriage, because like we said before, for me, when I came to a place of surrender, and like actually like acknowledging my feelings for you and things like that, like, and I had to pray, there's prayer and things like that that needed to go down. um just praying and preparing for, even just stepping into a relationship with Mads, that needed to happen. But it became very clear to me, if I date this woman, I'm probably gonna marry her.
Hmm.
And uh yeah, I think it that brought peace, because it's like, I'm not playing games. Like, I'm not dating someone to date someone or be in a relationship. I was dating to like be married, and that was like all the times I was dating seriously. But I think this time it like really switched for me.
Yeah, I love that. And I think on my end, it's been a journey, not just once, but over and over and over again to come to that point of recognizing that it's not you who completes me, it's the Lord. And so that's something that I have to continue to keep my priorities straight, because I'm not literally crying on Jesus's shoulder or not literally getting a hug from Jesus. And so it's something that I think as women, this is such a broad brush statement, but I think sometimes we can be prone towards codependency. Um, because ironically, I think we're made to depend on one another, but that completion does happen in the body of Christ, not just individual families. Um, yeah, and I know you didn't want to talk too much about submission and headship and these type of things. The man is fake rolling his eyes right now. Um, but I think that was a big thing for me too in um, the dating process. And so I guess we could pivot from how do you consider who to date. I mean, I think a huge piece of that is who are you willing to connect your life to? Because when you get married, it's no going back, right? And so you have to really consider, count the cost. Am I willing to run the distance with this person in sickness and health, better for worse, richer for poorer? Like there will be huge things that you experience together and suffer through, right? Um, But anyway, my own point that I got distracted from probably about 4 times was I think there's this when you're dating, you're really trying to discern, do I want to be with this person the rest of my life? I'm definitely interested. Probably they're beautiful, but did you have any thoughts on how to really discern? Okay, I really like this girl. I really like this guy, but is this my wife or not? For those who are in the dating space.
Yeah, I mean, this is once again, this is just my point of view. Um, I think the Lord will make it clear in His timing. Honestly, I know people don't always like to hear that, but I mean that's kind of a piece. But I think things
Mm.
to consider, definitely as a believer and as like someone in a relationship, is like, is this person leading me closer to the Lord? Is this person um helping me grow closer to God? Or is this relationship something that's more so pulling me away? Um, and that's something to really think about because this person could be handsome or drop dead gorgeous or anything like that. And you're having all this fun time and things like that. But then you're also not growing at all. You know, you're also not having the conversations that you need to have and be considering for marriage or even the future, or you're not growing in your faith. One, not growing in your faith individually, but also together. What does that look like? So I think those are things to consider and think about when being in a relationship as a Christian and as a believer, because, iron sharpens iron. And once again, this is,
Ouch.
this is my personal thing. Because, like, one thing I saw that was I loved in Mads was like, oh, we're evenly yoked, like we're together. I was like, I can see her like sharpening me and helping me grow, you know. Um, so I think that was one thing that was like beautiful to me. Because trust, I talked to other people in college that they weren't there, or vice versa, or maybe there were some great qualities about them, and different things like that. But like there was something that was missing spiritually or things like that.
Yeah.
So
And we both weren't complete or whatever when we got
fact.
married. We're still ironing out wrinkles every single day. But I think a couple things that I really appreciated in you is I think there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge rightly applied. And so, what I love about you, babe, is you're not just like head smart, academic smart, but you're street smart and you know how to navigate life with a certain grace, yeah, and wisdom. And I think that's grown over time. And so, I mean, when we were in college, like the man's schedule was crazy. He was still learning his priorities. Yeah, he had it color coded and everything, but home dude was only sleeping how many hours a night for? Let's just say, well, I was going to say it's better now, but with a baby. Anyway, let's just say the man has his priorities really straight And that's something that I appreciate about you, Benjamin, is that even though you were less mature when we were in college, you were going in the right trajectory, that like the Lord was still number one on your priority list, even though you're still discerning your capacity. And yeah, I just really appreciate that about you. And the other thing that I was going to bring up is communication. I think the cliche is pretty true. Communication is key.
Oh, most
Um,
definitely.
did you want to speak into that, honey?
Communication and relationship. Yeah, I mean, um, I think communication is something that any couple, whether they've been together for a month or several decades, like there's always room to grow with communication.
Hmm.
And I think, speaking of for our marriage, for our relationship, there were times where, we felt defeated of like, oh, we can't communicate well and that's blah, blah, blah. And now I think after being married for 4 years, let's go. Um, we've kind of come to a place where it's like we have grace for ourselves and like realizing, yeah, we had miscommunication here. And it
Yeah.
makes sense because we can look back and see this is where this happened, this is where this happened. But in the years where we've gotten to know one another in marriage, because like it's interesting, y'all. Like you have your dating relationship and then you get engaged and then marriage, and it's like a deeper kind of vibe every single time. And each year, we have tried to do our best, to um grow better in communication. And that's a lot of our, in our marriage at least, a lot of our um disagreements and sometimes arguments usually are coming from a point where there's miscommunication.
Right. And so, what I want to highlight about what you're saying is it's rarely ever the substance that we're disagreeing about. It's about the miscommunication or maybe insecurities or whatever that we carry or something else, not a real issue in and of itself, wherever it starts. Right.
Yeah, I'd say that would be most of the time. And I think like there's been a grace of like seeing and understanding, oh, this is where we misheard this person, or this
Mhm.
is where,
He said this and I heard that, but he actually didn't mean this when he said that. He actually meant
right.
this.
Yeah, just based on cultural things, or
Gender.
yeah, gender, or even just how we see reality.
We're just different
Right,
people.
realizing that we're different.
And I thought we were so similar when we dated. And I think our values are very similar, but I think the way that we carry out those values is incredibly different. So, an example is we both really value music and worship and living lives of worship, but the way and culture and nuance and precision and the, how that's carried out, that's where marriage, I think, is lived, is in the how. How do we do this well together?
Yeah, and it's a daily thing. Like for all our early married people,
Hang in there, it
hang
keeps
in
getting
there.
better.
Like keep pressing in, keep communicating. Give your spouse grace. Give yourself grace.
Can I pause on that?
Yeah,
Or will it
I
mess up your train of thought? Go ahead and I'll come back to something.
yeah. Like it takes time to one, learn about the other person. We've had to learn not to, and we still do it, like we're still guilty of it, but like we've really worked hard on like trying not to assume, you know things about the other person, or assume the worst, believe
Mm,
the best. As well as like, I was gonna say earlier that sometimes because of miscommunication, we figure out, okay, this is what we could say going forward. This is a way of saying this, or this is a
mm-hmm.
way of doing this so that we can probably make a better form of communication. Sometimes we just forget to say something, and then a few days later it, pivots. But
Wait, I don't understand that. Can you explain?
sometimes we can have a plan or idea, but we didn't flesh it out well
So there was
together.
misunderstanding because of like a gap in communication.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it just communication takes time and it takes work, and it's something that I think we're always gonna be having to do,
Yeah.
especially as, we have a little one now. We're gonna have to learn how to parent him together, and we are already doing that. He's about to be 2 months old. But like he's gonna grow up, and he's gonna be with us until we leave this earth. So it's like we're gonna have to learn how to communicate about him. If God blesses us with grandchildren one day, how are we gonna communicate about that? And even as our marriage is shifting, as we're stepping into parenthood, like there's gonna be communication things. So whether we like it or not, in our relationship or in any relationship where whether if it's a marriage really or if it's a friendship or anything like that, like there's always gonna be communication. Um, but how are we gonna approach it?
Yeah. Some things that I've learned along the way, I think it's really easy for females to be kind of critical and nitpicky, and you didn't do this and you did this. And I think that can be a little bit deflating. Would you agree, babe?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could. Um,
So I
Go
think,
ahead.
yeah, something that I've learned is okay, if there's one thing that I notice, like, okay, he forgot to take out the trash, whatever the thing is, um, instead of just harping on that one thing, kind of let it go, give him grace, and recognize and appreciate this man loves you. He's committed to you. He's doing the best that he can, and he's doing a great job across the board. So to change where you're focusing from, okay, he did this one thing, and to actually like pray about it. Because I think, especially early in marriage, we were both really frustrated with each other and frustrated because we weren't being heard. And so I think that was actually a source of a lot of our disagreements is, and it would escalate because I'm not being heard and you're not being heard, and trying to talk louder to be heard doesn't work very well. And so somebody at at our church was really kind and rebuked me and just kind of said like, before you bring something up to him, you need to pray about it, and before you do that, you need to pray for your own heart too, right? Because you're at fault as well. And so I think prayer before speaking. And so I've had to really learn how to tame my tongue, because like the word of God says that the power of life and death is in the tongue. And I think um, you can say if you agree or disagree. In some of the Wesleyan egalitarian world, there's not as much emphasis on gender difference. It's more about um, what skills or like personality, what do you bring, and mutual submission, which I would say that we're mutually submitted, but I also submit to you as my husband. Um, and that's actually a huge gift to not have to lead the family, but to get to follow good leadership. But tangent for another day. But I think my point is, I think men do well and want to be appreciated for all the hard work that they do. And so that's something that I've learned along the way is to listen more, speak less, appreciate, and just really encourage to compliment the things that he does really well rather than just complain about what I want to see better. Thoughts, Lev? Oh, that's something we talked about actually. Do you have any thoughts instead of just thoughts?
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think that's beautiful. I'm glad you shared that. Um,
Still a work in progress for sure.
and we're all working every day. Um, yeah, I would say probably the last thing that I can think of about communication, I think that we've had to learn is like expectations. Like
That's good.
we
We didn't bring any into our marriage at all.
I would say that.
I'm just kidding. I'm
Yeah,
just
I
kidding.
think we've had to learn and figure out like one, express our expectations to one another,
which is really hard to do because you don't know you have them until they don't get met.
Right. And sometimes, um, yeah. So that's been something that we've had to grow in. What our expectations, what our wants, and what our desires. And
You
sometimes,
differentiate wants and desires.
nah, I put it together.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, trying to differentiate between the both, but also what's realistic as well. What I think we've had to work on that as well. Of like
Can you give
what's
an example?
on a what's a realistic expectation.
Yeah, it seems really theoretical because what I experience of you is you're really open-handed. You don't place a lot of heavy burdens on me of what here are my expectations for you or whatever. So I'm trying to track with you.
Yeah, I think just in marriage, I think sometimes we've had disagreements or misunderstandings where we've had one of us has had an expectation of the other person, or I expect you to do this or blah blah blah, where um it can be unrealistic, I guess, or maybe um I guess a classic marriage trope is we expect them to be us. Um
True.
and sometimes there's things that we bring to the table that is possible to do, you know, things like that, but there's other things where like God specifically made us us, and
Yeah.
there's something that's unrealistic because we don't think the same way. um
I remember when we first got married. Oh my goodness. This devastated me. But I had this expectation that um basically when you walk in or out the door, like she'd be like, I love you, Benjamin. Oh, I love you too. And you wanted to like feel it, right? You wanted to, because you really value,
like feel it.
yeah, you really valued authenticity and you didn't want to feel forced to say, I love you. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you, like, what? Because to me, it's like, you married me. Of course you love me. Why wouldn't you just say it as like a habit and as a routine? And so I think the challenge is because when you have a disagreement behind perspectives, it feels like the other person is crazy, but they have a different value set than you do to some extent. Or maybe just the thing that they're emphasizing, the priority is different. And so in that moment, I was really valuing like maybe tradition or habit or just feeling safe and seen and valued. And you were really valuing your, what would it be? Authenticity, autonomy,
So yeah,
but you didn't want to be like forced, right?
I guess, yeah, I think in that time, um there is an expectation of like you have to say this, you know. um and
And I was like, does he love me?
right, it kind of like became a thing of like, yeah, well, you just said like it kind of was like all or nothing kind of vibe.
I was insecure.
And
Yeah.
I think in that time I was like, I was trying to explain of like, I do love you, you know, but there might be a time where, because you know, life happens, life be life, and I might, if there is this expectation of I have to come in, always hug you and kiss you, and you know, before I leave, do the same, be like, I love you so much, blah blah blah, blah. Like life happens, you know, and there's someone could be completely tired, someone could have a
Yeah.
hard day, you know, and vice versa. I think there is just a place of like, I want to be able to be authentic with you.
Yes. And at the same time, there needs to be space in our marriage, and there is, for me to voice, hey, Benjamin, like when you get home from a long day at work and you come home and you greet me, it makes me feel really loved and seen, not as something heavy to put on you, but as hey, when you do this, I feel really cared for. And so now we say, I love you back and forth and greet each other or whatever. Like, I don't think we even think about it just because it's a new normal and we have the stability in our relationship that we were still forming as like newlyweds. But I think it's cool just to like reflect back on how far we've come
Yeah.
just in only 4 years.
For sure.
Yeah. So hang in there, guys. And I think a lot of this low key applies to any relationship. It's not necessarily
Ain't
like,
where it's everybody.
yeah, not even just dating too. It's friendship. It's
right. Some of y'all be putting unrealistic expectations on your friends.
Your eyes are saying more.
I was going to leave that there.
Or giving too much.
Or you're giving too much. Some of y'all have friends that ain't contributing to the friendship.
But maybe God has called people to that for a season.
That's true. That's true.
None of this is one size fits all. You have to navigate it, not out of striving, but like out of real relationship with God and the community. Well, Mr. Black, would you like to pivot and talk about worship?
Sure.
Well, friends, that brings us to the end of this episode for today. You'll have to tune in next time for part 2, the conversation around worship. And someone that I have learned from has this quote that they say the purpose of things like this is to get the wisdom without the weeping. And so not that Benjamin and I are inherently wise, whatever that we have this good. We've learned it either from the scriptures or people in the local church. But we pray that this episode of what we've walked through and what we've learned has blessed you guys. If so, it would really help us out as a new podcast if you made a comment, shared with somebody, sent this along to someone else. If you're feeling led to, zero pressure. We want to continue to make this accessible for all people for free. So if you feel led to donate, there's a way that you can do that with the link in the bio. We're so glad that you're here. Thank you for tuning in to the Intentions podcast, and we'll see you next time.